Assalamualaikum to all panel, Dr. Hidayana and Puan Farihah. We are from Bachelor of Science Administration AM2286A. My name is MAISARAH binti MAHAT.
And my name is NURUL ARIFAH binti ISMAIL.
So today we want to present our research, which is the topic is to study the factors that influence the level of integrity among public sector. Before we proceed with the presentation, we will see the outline for this presentation, which is firstly is research background, problem statement, conceptual framework, research methodology, finding, research implication, limitation research and future recommendations, and lastly, conclusion. Research background. Basically, as we know, integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. In Malaysia, integrity is commonly related to bribery and corruption. The demonstrations on the value of honesty in Malaysia were implemented to achieve the goal of becoming a developed country where people should strengthen ethics and integrity so that it becomes part of the culture of society. Thus, the government made an effort to achieve the goal and has carried out a monumental task in instilling just and fair interest in society, including the public sector. In this study, there are three factors that influencing the level of integrity among public sector, which is individual, organizational, and situational factor. Next, problem statement. According to Transparency International, the majorities in 2013 of the Malaysian political parties surveyed are perceived as highly corrupt. For instance, nowadays, cases of public sector corruption in the sector are becoming too normal. Malaysia is seen less concerned about the ethic and its effect to the public sector. Thus, civil servants assumed to have lower level of integrity, so that the study was conducted to see the relationship between the factors and the level of integrity among public sector. This is our research questions and research objective. So, our first research objective are to examine the influence of individual towards the level of integrity of public servant. Secondly, is to study the influence of organizational towards the level of integrity of public servants. And thirdly, is to identify the influence of situational towards the level of integrity of public servants. So, as we can see, the research questions is reflection of the research objective. This is our conceptual framework. As we can see, we have three independent variables, which is the individual, organizational, and situational factor, and one dependent variable. Next, for the first independent variable, which is the individual, from the previous study, according to the Overland and Butterfield 2005, stated that individual factors play important in deciding how a person responds and behaves. Factors were found to have major effect on the individual level of integrity include individual factors such as ethnicity, gender, faith, job experience, and educational background, so that it is shown that level of integrity of workers is positively correlated with individual variables. Therefore, for the purpose of the study, we propose hypothesis A1, there is an influence between the individual factor and the level of integrity among public sector, and O1, there is no influence between the individual factor and the level of integrity among public sector. Next, for the second independent variables, which is the organizational. According to the previous study, Magnan and Batu 2005 stated that they accepted that a code of conduct or code of ethics is essential for leading employees, not just for the right or wrong action, in order to provide good governance. The contractual sense of duty and transparency among organization stakeholders should be emphasized by a good code of ethics. Therefore, for the purpose of the study, we propose hypothesis A2, there is an influence between the organizational factor and the level of integrity among public sector, and O2, there is no influence between the organizational factor and the level of integrity among public sector. For the third independent variables, which is situational, According to the previous study, W.S. Albrecht 2014 believed that individuals are influenced to act unethically with this factor. It says that leadership behavior was positively associated with integrity, vertical change, and leadership empowerment. So therefore, for the purpose of the study, we propose hypothesis A3, there is an influence between the situational factor and the level of integrity among public sector, and O3, there is no influence between the situational factor and the level of integrity among public sector. So as mentioned previously, this is hypothesis for the study. Overall, we have 6 hypotheses, with 2 hypotheses for each relationship. So next, this is our research methodology. For the research design, we use quantitative method to analyze the objective of this study. Next, unit of analysis, which is the respondents in this study are the public servants at Peninsular Malaysia. The sample size is 269 respondents of the public servants, while the sampling technique, we use the non-probability sampling, which is the convenience sampling. For the data measurement, in our study, the variable will be measured with 4 items using Likert scale from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. For the data collection consists of Section A, which is demographic profile, Section B, level of integrity, Section C, individual factor, Section D, organizational factor, and the Section E, situational factor. And the last one is data analysis, which is we use descriptive analysis and person correlation to analyze the data.
The demographic profile shows that female respondent had taken the place 59.1%, meanwhile male respondent is 40.9%. The majority respondent in terms of age amounted 139, which is 51.7% are under the age of 30. And the least respondent that take place is 51 years old and above, which is only 8.2%, which will represent only 22 respondents. In terms of educational level, within the 269 respondents, the majority of it were from undergraduates, diploma and degree, which is 59.1%. On the other hand, others' educational level were the least respondent, which is only 0.4%. Next, in terms of length of services, majority of the respondent is from 1 to 2 years of service, which is 32.2% and represent 89 respondents. Only 43 respondents are from 5 to 10 years of services, which is only 18%. Last but not least, in terms of employment category, majority of it were professional, which is 59.9%, amounted 161 respondents, and the rest of it were from support groups. Next is hypothesis testing. It is tested to identify the relationship between dependent and independent variables. For the first objective, which is to examine the influence of individual towards the level of integrity, it shows a positive relationship as the Pearson correlation, which is R, is 0.284. It is the same case for the other 2 independence variable, which is organizational and situational. Both of the variables shows a positive relationship, whereas for organizational factor, the Pearson correlation R is 0.359 and situational is 0.313. Next is research recommendation. The first recommendation is to provide continuous training to improve the integrity practices in the workplace. This will be ineffective if all top and lower management employees participate. Besides, it is also recommended to facilitate open communication about integrity-related issues and recognize as well as reward ethical conduct. Although it may be unworkable, it should be done in order to instill the integrity values. These rewards are symbolic in nature, but it gives a powerful sign to the rest of the organizations. Moreover, it is also recommended to sustain higher transparency. This is because it is one of the crucial values in integrity, as it can increase trust between employers and employees, as well as increase trust between the public towards the public sector. This can reduce the corruption in public sector as the disclosure the process to public. When the integrity unit itself is strong and solid, it can reduce misconduct, abuse of power, and any unethical practices in the organizations. As to why I state that, it is because it will increase and improve the knowledge and ethical value among the public servants. Apart from that, it strengthens the integrity unit in all departments in the organizations. Last but not least, the recommended initiative is to establish awareness program. This might sound basic, but the awareness must be continued to support and uphold the government effort to combat corruption and to instill integrity values. Okay, next is for the research limitation and further recommendation for this study is lack of variable. This is because we only examine direct relationship between the three factors, which is individual, organizational, and situational, and level of integrity of public servants. For further study, it may examine more variables as the variety of variables can ensure the study to explore more scope to get a better finding. The other limitation is lack of sample. As the study focuses only in public sector, it only target audience is public servants, so the scope is really small. In the future, the study can be expanded to the private sector and maybe make a comparison between the two sectors. Lack of data is also one of the research limitations. This is because when this study is conducted, we are facing a COVID-19 pandemic and the questionnaire was distributed online. As a result, the data obtained might be inaccurate as the respondents might hide the truth of their organization to protect its own image and the organization image. As a conclusion, the aim of this study is to study the relationship between individual, organizational, and situational factors that influence the level of integrity among public servants. This study found out that all independent variables, which consists of individual, organizational, and situational factors, are positively connected with the level of integrity of public servants.